Okay, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I go about writing a very basic news report. In this case, I don't have any real background information on this. I'm not an expert in Indonesia or the police system there. This is a report by Human Rights Watch. It seems significant. It's something I haven't heard of before, and it's something I think other people would like to read. So, we're going to publish this in the speaker. In this case, in this kind of story, there's not really a lot of alternative sources. I'm going to do some research. Perhaps there's someone I'll contact for a quote or their opinion on this. But most of the article will just be a report on Human Rights Watch's report. So I'm going to read through this report and see what information I would like to include in my own article. So first of all, I'm going to take the link. You can't see this, but I'm going to take the link and paste it in. That will be my source, Human Rights Watch. I'm going to take note that this is the assessment of Human Rights Watch. Okay, Jakarta. The Indonesian government subjects female applicants for Indonesia's national police to discriminatory and degrading virginity tests, Human Rights Watch said today. So what's the news here? Well, I'm going to be reporting on the same thing that Human Rights Watch is reporting on, that the Indonesian government is subjecting female applicants to virginity tests. Discriminatory and degrading is opinion. If I was reporting on Human Rights Watch's condemnation of the virginity test, I would include that. But in this case, I won't. I'm going to talk about, or I'm going to write about what the Indonesian government does. And I'll later use discriminatory and degrading when I'm describing Human Rights Watch's assessment of this practice. Human Rights Watch interviewed female police and applicants who had undergone the test. If they failed, they weren't necessarily expelled, but they had to undergo the test, and that is enough. They've raised the issue already, and officials have said that they would discontinue this. But it's still a requirement for female applicants. And Human Rights Watch is saying it's still widely applied. Here is a statement by Human Rights Watch in Jakarta. Oh no, it's not in Jakarta. But this is their statement, and that's the person. So we will take that quote, because we will most likely use it somewhere in the middle of the article. The tests contravene national police principles that recruitment must be non-discriminatory and humane. That is very significant. And not violate the international human rights to equality, non-discrimination, and privacy. So this is how Human Rights thinks it is violating human rights. Here's something Human Rights Watch did. They interviewed 8 current and former applicants in Jakarta, or in several cities. All of the women who had undergone the test, it was applied to all other women. So there are people who are not speaking out on this. They are conducted under Chief Police Regulation, so this is Indonesian government policy that says that this is an official practice. So what is it? Female academy applicants undergo an obstetrics and gynecology exam. They don't specify that it's a virginity test. That is significant. It may not be a virginity test, or in practice it might not be practiced as a virginity test, and we have to think about that. But in this case, it is still discriminatory in the fact that it's only applied to women. A discredited and degrading two-finger test is included in this. A memo by an international organization said that someone describes the need to inspect female candidates' hymens to ensure their virginity. And here a police general at the medical center claimed the test was no longer applied. But Human Rights Watch is not finding that they are discontinuing the practice. In addition to the medical and physical tests, women who want to be policemen must also undergo virginity tests, so all women who want to become policewomen should keep their virginity. Married women are not eligible for the job. We can expect that this has something to do with Indonesia being a Muslim government. It's a long-standing practice. This is a little about the Indonesian government. Some further quotes by experts. A description of how some people judge the tests. Some information about international law and how the human rights guarantees are violated here. And some applicants are now speaking out. That might be a separate story. They did not, so they are still doing it. That's the whole story. So now I'm going to go back and read through this and take out the most important parts and compose a news article based on this. So, first paragraph. The Indonesian government continues to conduct mandatory virginity tests on all female applicants to the country's national police force, according to a recent report by Human Rights Watch. We will link that probably. The long-standing practice continues according to police regulations, despite claims by officials that the inspections, including the two-finger test, are no longer applied. Human Rights Watch, in their report, stated that this practice was in violation of international law, in addition to other criticisms. We will follow with a quote. We will follow with this quote. The Indonesian National Police's use of virginity tests is a discriminatory practice that harms and humiliates women, said Nisha Varia, Associate Women's Rights Director at Human Rights Watch. Police authorities in Jakarta need to immediately and unequivocally abolish the test, and then make certain that all police recruiting stations nationwide stop administering it. So now let's talk write a little about Well, we could either write about what is happening, the law, and how it's being practiced, or we could write about what Human Rights Watch has done. In this case, even though I think that what Human Rights Watch has done might be a more finely formed article, I think that the legal aspect and how the practice is taking place is more important, so I'm going to put that higher. Now, as I'm writing this article, this paragraph, I come across a quotation here, kind of a moral judgment or assessment, and I would think I'll use that for my closing statement. So I'm going to copy that and paste it. Okay. The virginity tests take place as a matter of law, Human Rights Watch reported. Article 36 of the Chief Police Regulation No. 5, 2009 on Health Inspection Guidelines for Police Candidates requires all female police academy applicants to undergo an examination for obstetrics and gynecology. This examination continues to include, according to senior policewomen interviewed by Human Rights Watch, a virginity test, and, according to interviews conducted in 6 major Indonesian cities, the test had been applied to all women who were in the academy. So there's a lot of material that I don't want to include. It's kind of elaborate. But in looking for my next paragraph, I find that other countries are doing this. So this is something I would like to include before my last paragraph. So the second last paragraph will read, Indonesia is not the only country with documented policies of virginity tests. I'll rewrite that, but those are the countries. Neither are virginity tests only conducted on police applicants in Indonesia. Schoolgirls are also subject to the tests, which Human Rights Watch have criticized as being not only discriminatory and degrading, but also subjective and unscientific. So I've rewritten the beginning of that paragraph. The tests also contravene national principles, which state that recruitment must be non-discriminatory and humane. So the only thing really missing is what we mentioned in the introductory paragraph. So that some officials are claiming that the tests are no longer applied. Okay, the Indonesian officials have claimed that the tests are no longer applied. Other claims have been made that steps are being taken to remove the tests, but according to Human Rights Watch, the rights group has seen little evidence that might support any such claim. The National Police website continues to state, in addition to the medical and physical tests, women who want to be policewomen must also undergo virginity tests. So all women who want to become policemen should keep their virginity. Married women are ineligible for the police force. So then our paragraph about wider concerns or wider relevance, and our final quote from Varia. We'll double check that we have an identification for Varia. And then our byline, and if we have a photo, our photo. And that concludes how to write news based on a report or world news that you're probably not going to seek any further sources or any further quotes on.